rebuke your mother, rebuke her, for she is not my wife, and I'm not her husband. Let her remove the adulterous look from her face, and the unfaithfulness from between her breasts. Hosea 2 verse 2. Adding adultery in marriage. Let us look at these are about 16 dangerous effects of marital infidelity, of sex outside marriage when you are a married person. If you look at chapter number 1, Hosea was told to marry a promiscuous wife. And if you look at Hosea 3 and verse 1, the Lord tells him, go show your love to your wife again, though she is loved by another man and is an adulteress. And if you look at Hosea 3 and verse 3, then I told her, you are to live with me for many days. You must not be a prostitute or be intimate with any man, and I will live with you. So, and God now is using that as a figure of speech to address Israel. That the Israel was the wife of God. And now she indulged herself, Jerusalem, indulged herself with another husband or another man that is Bar. That is Bar. And remember Bar, the name Bar means rod. So it is a counterfeit of the sovereign Lord. So, and the Lord now, if you read Hosea 2 from verse 3 to verse 13, it contains detailed, dangerous effects of sex outside marriage when you are married, whether you are the man or you are the woman. Number 1 is you are stripped naked. You are stripped naked. Adultery strips you naked. It exposes you. It reveals your inner secret. A person who commits adultery, anything you do, it is always discovered. You see it in verse 3. Otherwise, I will strip her naked. So when you commit adultery, God strips you naked. You lose spiritual garment. You lose spiritual cover. Number 2, and make her as bare as on the day she was born. I will make her like a desert and turn her into a parched land. So number 2, when you commit adultery, you are made like a like a desert. So you become barren, you become unfruitful, you become unproductive. So adultery turns you into a desert, a place of no productivity. And go and do your own research. People who have committed adultery, eventually, how do they end up being? Number 3, I will slay her with lust. You can still read it in Hosea 2 verse 3, last part, and slay her with lust. When you commit adultery, it makes you develop insatiable cravings that leads to degradation and depravity of human nature. Many people have ever committed adultery. You move from worst to worst. Instead of recovering, you deteriorate. That is when you notice people who commit adultery, most of them, because they now get connected with that adulteress or the adulteress, and you cannot continue the relationship. Many end up in masturbation, many end up in pornography, many end up in insatiable cravings, lust, and covetousness. Yeah, you find yourself in a situation whereby there is a lust that you cannot quench. You become sexually greedy. Even if you remain in your marriage, you notice your wife cannot satisfy you. Your husband cannot satisfy you because it opened an insatiable craving. Because when you commit adultery, you attract the slaying with thirst. Something else is no compassion from God. If you look at verse 4, when you commit adultery, you remove the mercies of God from your system. Even your children do not attract the mercies of God. No compassion. Number 4 or number 5 is bastard nature. You develop bastard nature. Illegitimacy develops in you. You notice it there in verse 4. Because they are the children of adultery. That is illegitimacy. So the moment you commit adultery and you're born again, immediately you become counterfeit believer. You become a bastard natured believer. It makes you to look counterfeit, fake. Something else, number 6, is path blocked with thorns. Verse 6. There I will block her path with thorn bushes. This is a situation whereby you don't find breakthroughs in life. Your life is hemmed around in confusion, stagnation, mark timing, and a roundabouting. You keep on revolving on one issue that is never resolved. Something else is whirled around. Detention and confinement. This is where you struggle with stagnation, limitations, and no headways. You don't have direction because you are a world all around. You see it there, still in verse 6. But be able wore her in so that she cannot find her way. And then something else is desperation of intimacy. Verse 7, she says, she will chase after her lovers but not catch them. She will look for them but not find them. When you commit adultery, you notice you become desperate of intimacy. You become desperate of intimacy. Expand that. Desperation of intimacy. Expand it. And you understand what the adultery can cost you. Something else is regrets. Verse 7 part B says, then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than now. When you commit adultery, you live with regrets that cannot be removed. You keep on saying, I wish I knew. That one, you never escape it. Because you will always see the struggles you are going through are associated with that sin you committed of adultery. Something else is no harvest. Verse 9. Therefore, I will take away my grain when it ripens, and my new wine when it is ready. You will work when the time comes for payment. You are not paid. Men of God, you will go and minister very effectively. But when it comes time of rewarding you for the good work of ministration, there is nothing. There is no offering. There is you don't harvest in life. You lose harvest. Something else is no spiritual cover. Verse 7-9b says, I will take back my wool and my linen intended to cover her nakedness. People who commit adultery, you struggle in finding a spiritual cover. Go and do your own research. If you have ever been involved in adultery itself, you will notice you move from one pastor to another, because adultery makes you lose spiritual covering. Something else is public humiliation. In verse 10, verse 10 says, so now I will expose her lewdness before the eyes of her lovers. No one will take her out of my hands. When you commit adultery, you now enter into what we call public humiliation. You are put into shame publicly. Every person knows you are sick. These are the people you notice their pictures are taken and they are put in the social media. Everybody is seeing your naked private parts. Somebody took some photos and now is spreading them. You become a public ridicule. Something else is no joy or happiness. You lose that dimension. Still in verse 10. Verse 11, I will stop all her celebrations, her yearly festivals, and all that. A person who commits adultery, you don't enjoy life anymore. It is taken away. You don't enjoy Christmas. You don't enjoy Easter. You don't enjoy public holidays. There is nothing that can give you joy because adultery kills joy. Something else is destruction of hard work. Verse 12, I will ruin her vines and her fig trees, which she said were her pay from her lovers. Your hard work is destroyed. You work so hard, but it is always destroyed. Last but not least is, what would animals devour you? You get a host of demons. It is in verse 12b.